from Seattle. Hi, someone from Texas. Geets from Canada. Okay, someone from Philippines. This is amazing. Meenakshi from Boston. Okay. Viresh from Bangalore as well. Ishwar from Kathmandu. Akshay from Mumbai. Someone from Bhutan. Okay, that's a beautiful place. Vijay from Mumbai. Okay, we're also live on our platforms, social platforms, LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you're watching us on any of these platforms, let us know your introductions as well. We're just getting started, actually. Ashna from Hyderabad. Okay, Ghulam. Okay, Manas. Great, great. Thank you, everyone, for your introductions. We all know why we've gathered here. I'm sure all of you are somewhere, you're either preparing for your PMP test or maybe taking another attempt. Whatever the case is, you want to understand a foolproof plan to clear your PMP exam, right? And I'm sure that's the reason why you're here. And what we're going to do is to help you understand or maybe overcome whatever your obstacle is, and also help you with a 3-phase plan that helps you prepare and be ready for this very intensive test. And also we'll kind of take you through how Simplilearn helps you with PMP preparation. We'll take you through the enrollment steps. And of course, we'll end the session with the Q&A. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. You might have a lot of questions to ask Tim about, okay, how do I transition to becoming a project manager? Is it really going to help me? What kind of opportunities is it going to open me up to? All of that, right? Whatever your question is, put them on the Q&A box. Make sure these are relevant questions, and you get the most out of them by asking a lot of it from what's being covered in the session. Yeah. And towards the end, you'll also be given opportunity to submit your names for collecting your webinar certificate. So this is how it's going to work. After we finish the session, there's going to be a poll that will ask your full name, and that's how we'll collect your name and then give in your certificate in the next 24 hours. Okay, right? So if you're clear with the ground rules, you know why we're here and what you're going to gain out of this session, just let me know a quick yes, a thumbs up, or whatever it is. You can just let me know a yes on the chat if you're clear. Yeah, because these are questions that we always get about, okay, what do I do if I have a question? What do I do if I need the certificate? What do I do if I need the recording? All of these common questions. So remember, you will be given the recording and the certificate the next 24 hours, but make sure you stay till the end to submit your name. Okay, submit your entry. Yeah. All right, that's amazing. I know some of you are familiar with Simplilearn and what we do, but I'm just going to quickly introduce us, Simplilearn, to you. So what we offer is industry-recognized certifications, career-aligned learning paths in various domains, including project management, AI, machine learning, business analytics, also data science, cybersecurity, all of the digital skills that prepare you what's coming up, right? And all of our courses actually have Gen AI component included, including the PMP certification. Okay, so what we're really proud of is that we've touched more than 8 million careers worldwide in people from more than 150 plus countries. We've got amazing trainers, program advisors like Tim, who on board with Simplilearn for a really long time, and 40 plus global accreditations, right? So a lot of our learners have actually reported a salary hike, and a lot of them have actually gone on to complete these courses and rated a 4.5 on our courses. So we've partnered with leading organizations, including PMI, Virginia Tech, UCSD, PeopleCert, all of these organizations to deliver these courses to you. Okay, right. Well, that's just a little bit about us. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce Tim to you. Okay, and when I heard his introduction, I was actually mind blown about, okay, this person actually has so many credentials, but his LinkedIn profile does not do justice to what he's actually accomplished so far. So he's got more than 2 decades of training and project management experience. And all of the Simplilearn content, if you are a learner here already, all of the Simplilearn live class material and the learning content is, most of it actually is prepared by Tim himself. He's also an advisor at PMI. He's responsible for crafting, generating new age content, learning content, and also kind of strategizing on how this can be delivered to learners as well. He's also actually partnered or collaborated with a lot of universities to ensure that, students are prepared for what's coming up in their jobs. So welcome, Tim. It's amazing to have you. I think let you introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right in.
Thank you. So I'm you. Everybody in the audience, I'm you. Back in, I guess, 1992, I had a supervisor who said, "Here, Tim, here's a project. Just manage it for me." What do you do? It's project management is the accidental profession. But my supervisor was great. He was not just a manager, he was a leader. And he helped me grow and learn how to treat groups and individuals in such a way that they would get together and do great work. And so from there, I got an undergraduate degree in business and I went further. And I just follow this chain and this whole structure of managing contained work seemed to be just perfect for that. And then in 2000, it was 2001, I got my MBA. I was a consulting
Wow.
project manager. And that's when my whole life opened up. Okay. That's when I realized that project management was not just within my understanding, because I had to learn about project management in healthcare, in education, in government, in pharmaceuticals, in fuel and oil. And I saw that project management, if you understand the big framework, you can apply your skills and this emotional intelligence in a way to make work easy. And I'll just give you one example. Right now, I'm leading about 16 of the world's smartest people in quantum physics.
Wow.
And most of them don't know how to actually get up and motivate and bring people together to make action. There's two or three of them who naturally learned how to do it. But what would happen if we were able to reach out and help each one of those 16 people to be not just aggressive self-starters, but to be able to take this work that's happening and guide it together? And that's what was exciting for me as I became not just a project manager, but a trainer. What type of influence can I have on the rest of the world in helping people?
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Tim, for that amazing introduction. I think we've got a lot more that we have to unravel about you. So what I'm going to do is quickly share maybe yeah, I can do that. I have your LinkedIn profile. So you guys can
Yeah.
actually check out Tim's profile here. I'm just going to do that on chat.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and everybody, please forgive me. I am very busy right now, so I may be looking like I'm ignoring LinkedIn for the next few weeks, but
Okay.
it's just because I'm wrapping up a lot of material and I'm getting prepared to reach out, not just through my regular channels, but to a broad public too. So you'll
Okay.
see me. If you want to talk to me, it'll be hard to reach me, but I do hear your voices.
Yeah, but you probably will see Tim if you be a part of his cohorts in our PMP.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so let's just quickly jump right in the session and understand from our audience. I know all of you are, again, we don't know which phase of your PMP preparation you are in right now, but maybe let us know a quick yes or a no. So do you really feel PMP preparation is challenging? It's really hard to clear this test. It's a quick yes or a no will help. And people on LinkedIn and YouTube also let us know your answers on the live chat. And if I've not mentioned this earlier, people on LinkedIn and YouTube, any of these platforms, make sure you put in your questions here on the live chat as well, right? So yeah, I'm able to pass these questions to Tim whenever you do that. Okay, okay. Someone says, not yet started, so you're not really sure. A lot of you say yes, you do feel that PMP is really hard to clear. Yes. Okay. Okay.
You're
And
welcome.
again, a few of you feel, okay, don't know yet because you've not started. Right. So either way, you're at the right place at the right time here. So you will get a strategy of how you can go about preparing for this PMP test. And for people who haven't started, what we thought we could do is we could maybe give you a quick overview about what the PMP exam looks like. So maybe, Tim, if you can just break down various sections, how the PMP exam is, testing people, how it's kind of useful for aspiring project managers. Maybe you could highlight that.
You may or may not have known
Yeah.
that because the certification is what it is, PMI wants to actually set aside the people who have this certification be a certain type, not just people who have book knowledge, not people who can read books like the body of knowledge from cover to cover. They want people who can go and hit the ground running with making decisions, engaging people, stepping up and asking hard questions and being open-minded. It's again, I talk about this in my class all the time. It's more of an exam of mindset. It actually tests you not necessarily on the framework of project management, although you need it, but it says, and about 80 to 90% of the exam is here's the situation,
Mhm.
here's the issue, and
Mhm.
how do you solve it? What's the best way to solve it? What do you do first? It basically asks you practical questions. And these questions are twofold. Number one, they are crafted by people who've been in the project management role for years, if not decades, like myself. And second of all, they've been tested and evaluated so that they know exactly how this question works. So the exam is very, very, very specific to making sure that you know how to step in and take action. It's again, it's an exam of attitude and principle, and people are not taught how to actually open up their heads and learn this attitude. They know how to memorize. We learn that in university, but how do we learn a new mindset? And that's something we talk in our classes all the time.
Right, which is, I think, the key. So it's not just about knowing these frameworks, the different processes that are involved in the project. It's also about developing that mindset. I think that's what the PMP certification prepares one for. Amazing. So what, if you can just break down the exam format, the types of questions that are there, and also are there any recent updates that the learners should know of?
Yes.
Mm.
So the exam specifically breaks up the material into three areas.
Okay.
About 10% of the questions are business related. Basically, what's happening around the project, and even before the project gets started, what's happening in business. Like needs are being defined and problems are starting to be quantified, right? And then there's about 40% of the exam that's going to be about process, right? How do I plan and manage a schedule? How do you approach quality, especially when your organization doesn't talk about quality? And what about risk? And then on top of that, we then have that leadership component, emotional intelligence, influence, and motivation, conflict management, and all these things in
Right.
order to be able to be the person who steps in. Now, one
Mm.
last thing. Well, there's two last factors, okay? Number one, half the exam is going to be about agile and hybrid, not
Right.
just predictive projects, okay? So
Mm.
you're going to learn, you won't get a certification in agile, you get a PMP that shows you that you're able to manage not just predictable work, but uncertain work, which is really important for us because as we progress as a society, our problems are going to get bigger and bigger. And now finally, each exam is generated randomly. So you will be getting a question for about 3 hours and 40 or 3 hours and 50 minutes. You'll be going through a question, you know, at the rate of 1.5 minutes per question. So you're constantly in a state of urgency. And so preparation for the exam is not just preparation of this, how do I solve these problems, but it's also how do I control my stress? How do I stay on task and all these things? Because it's just like being a project manager.
Right. And how do you stay in that mindset of being a project manager with every question, as time goes by? And I mean, as far as I know, it's not that, every question, I mean, there's a sequence of, we're not following that sequence of processes in a project. Each question is given in a random order, as far as I know, right?
Yeah, and not only that, but it's so different from other exam environments. And again, you go in, if you're taking the exam in a test center, it's very clinical. You don't have anything in front of you. And when you're taking it remotely, you don't have any books, you don't have any papers, you don't have anything else in a room. And it's again, it's jarring. There's a reason why people are uncomfortable. So when you're preparing for the exam, again, you're not just preparing for the types of questions and how to answer these types of questions, but the emotional impact it'll have going through this. But then again, we have these wonderful things called practice questions that you can prepare for that actually help you with, these are the type of questions, here's how they're phrased, here's how it works, here's how to dissect it, so that you can build up habits even before you walk into the exam center.
Yeah. More of that when we talk about the preparation phases, but let's talk about roadblocks now. And I think we'll just ask the audience right here. Now, of course, you might be facing this overwhelm. Okay, where do I start? Some of you said you're not sure about how you feel about the PMP exam yet because you've not started your preparation. Some of you feel time management is a challenge, like what Tim just mentioned. Also about handling the test in general, and also about how do I fit study time into my schedule. Some of you also may feel content overloaded. Okay, there's so much to study. Where do I even start? What do I focus on? What should I really understand first, right? You might face some of these issues. So maybe you could let us know what issues you have, what kind of roadblocks or challenges you feel are stopping you from moving ahead. You could let us know on the chat. And we also have a few questions. Let me see. Okay, someone wants to talk about how, they're in the automotive domain and how they can shift to PMP. Okay, we'll come to that question in a while, but we're interested to know, what kind of roadblocks you guys face. You feel time and syllabus is an issue? Okay. Confused as to which certification to take? Okay. Okay. Managing time, focus. All right. Vilas, Meenakshi, Savita feels, I have no idea where to start. Okay. We're only looking at challenges. Okay. If you have the challenge of time, just make sure you put that. Syllabus, oh, it's very expensive. Also a challenge. Stuff to retain and understand all that you learn. Everything seems to be clear, but when you take the test, it's just kind of seems a little hazy. Must be nervousness, also the case. Confused on study materials. What should be referred? Where do I focus more? Content is definitely overwhelming. 700 plus slides. Okay, which is better? Finished my online cohort, finished all the online material, 15 tests. Should I be good to go? I think, Tim, your three-phase plan just fits perfectly, here. All of these roadblocks that we see or challenges that learners are facing can be addressed with that plan of yours. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for your responses. Too much of content, at times it's confusing. Okay, things get repetitive. You feel you're learning the same thing, but kind of are scared, as to whether you'll make a mistake in the actual test. Okay, we'll talk about comparison of certifications later. Here, the idea is to help you understand how you can prepare best for your PMP test, what kind of a study plan works the best. We're just going to get there and help you understand a three-phase plan, which Tim will take you through. Tim, over to you.
Okay, so you're saying the right thing, okay? You're saying there's too much content, and there is. You're saying that you don't know where to start, and that's right. And that's beautiful. So let's look at just learning itself, okay? I'm going to spend about 2 or 3 minutes talking about learning itself. We found over the years that it's better to learn by doing things than by listening to lectures, taking notes, and taking exams. The results are incredibly more. If you have like some type of a practicum, like in healthcare, or you have some type of laboratory, like in science, you learn in doing. So we want to think about that from a practice standpoint, focusing on the practice. But before we get to the practice, you need to understand what you know and what you don't know. This is the first step in any project. What are the data I know? What are the parts of project management I understand? And this is basically the function of these review sessions. These boot camps give you an overall view. Now, at that phase one, it also gives you an understanding of where you're strong and where you need to focus. And that's the key. We all don't have time to study everything in incredible depth like we did in university. So what do? We use these practical questions and these exercises to winnow out what we don't need to study anymore and what we need to focus on. And it's a form of analysis by breaking up into category and prioritizing, and all of a sudden you say, this is where I need to study next. And as you work on that, you review references, you ask questions, you go and bounce ideas, and you learn that there's so much more to these other pieces, and they're the gaps that you're slowly closing. It makes the preparation very, very quick. Now, this is the whole idea behind being in class with a live instructor. Okay. They've been doing this for years and helping people lead this, but hopefully they're also demonstrating to you how these things work. In my classes, I like to run my classes as a project. So I'm doing the project management behavior as I'm teaching it. So even if they know something, they have an opportunity to learn. And that's going to end. Okay. Now, what's funny is a lot of my students want to say, when I leave this class, I want to have 100% knowledge. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. Our minds are not made for that. So what we've been learning over the last, 50 years is that you have that review and then you go into practice. And that's what these wonderful practice questions are for. And if you can, there's two sets of questions. Number one, random questions that prepare you for the experience of the exam, and also questions broken up by category, by domain, by, problem type. And you want to have those two in phase two. And it's not just improving time management confidence, it's also giving you a chance to say, hey, I'm getting better at this stuff I don't know. And it's closing that gap. Now, during this phase 2, you don't want to go through it fast because you're learning a skill and you want to get it right.
Yeah.
And this is the time to actually refine what you're doing as your score improves. It
Right.
takes about, I'd say it takes about 30 minutes to an hour a day for 6 to 8 weeks in phase 2. And you sit down, you isolate yourself, and you go through 20 to 50 practice questions. You
Mm,
review them, you score them, you organize the results, and you say, hey, I didn't do very well with this set of questions here. I did great over here, so let me focus on that. And that's where you get to your notes from the class,
mm,
the material from the class, maybe even the live recording and review what the little tiny details you may have missed there.
yeah.
So that's what's happening in phase 2.
Mm, mm, mm,
I recommend that in phase 2 you do this not for a set schedule. I say for a result, like scoring somewhere between 75 and 80 to 85% correct, right? I like to tell my students to score on their practice questions about 80 to 85% before they schedule their exam. A lot of you people know how to prepare. This message is not for you, but for the people who don't know how to prepare, it's like when we set this goal for ourselves, we forget we set it and we get into it and we get all worked up because we're not making this wonderful goal. But that's all right.
mm,
That's all right. We want to focus and keep doing that. We forget that we learn more from our mistakes than what we get correct. Okay?
correct.
That's the secret right there.
Right.
Now, once you're scoring that 80 to 85% correct, that's when you transition over to the last phase. And that's where you set the schedule for your exam, you set up your reservation. I think it's Pearson VUE who handles testing for PMI. And for those of you who are uncertain about testing, look up Pearson VUE on the website and get very familiar with their test center behavior and how to use that to your advantage. Okay.
Mm,
And in that, we want to set it up for about 2 or 3 weeks in advance so that you can continue doing about 20 to 50 questions a day, as well as working with the working with the practice questions and hopefully speeding up, not necessarily to 1.5 questions per or 1.5 minutes per question,
mm,
but it's also making sure you can understand the rigor you're going to be under for those 3 hours and 50 minutes.
mm, mm. Understood. Understood. So just to like summarize what you said, so the first phase is where someone really builds their foundation, understands the key principles, understands the different processes, all of that. And the best way to do that, of course, learn with you or learn, get trained by you, but yeah, learn by example, understand how project really happens and how these are applied in real time. And phase 2 is where they learn from their mistakes, keep practicing, and know what their strong areas are, what their weak areas are. Uh, Take mock tests and see if they're scoring at least 80 to 85. And if they are, then they proceed to the final stage where they're taking full-length exams and they're ensuring this consistent scoring and also trying to manage time. I think that will build the confidence, right? So we've got a few questions here, Tim. So would the practice test score us in percentages as well? Like you've mentioned, okay, score 85% or 80%. Practice tests also have that.
They should. It depends on the source, okay? Like Simplilearn, I've gone through the assessments that people are given as part of the class. I've gone through them 3 or 4 times. Now, I've been trained by Project Management Institute. Because of my role as a trainer, I'm not allowed to interact with the people who develop the test,
I
but
see.
I am allowed to write practice questions in the method. And I've reviewed the questions and they are all reasonable for the exam. One of the things that we do need to remember is the exam's different from 2020 and 2021 because Agile has become such a big part of the training exam. They've removed a lot of the math. So memorizing formulas is not a big deal. Looking over the memorization of how processes flow, it's not as big a thing, but it's still there in the background influencing what you're doing. And
Mhm.
that's the key. It's a combination of process and leadership that PMI is promoting right now for many, 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 many reasons.
Okay, got it. Got it. All right. I hope that answers your question, Sayonde, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Okay, Amira, we're not sure if hat is allowed, but certainly eyeglass or
Yeah,
spectacle.
I can speak to that because that hasn't changed over the decades.
Mm,
Um, if you're going into a test center, that they're probably going to inspect your glasses for obvious reasons, right? We have very advanced technology now, and they
mhm,
may ask to look at your hat. But these test centers are rather cool. They're environmentally controlled, so you may want to take a jacket in with you, but otherwise they will inspect this before they usher you to your cubicle for the exam. And that's a test center. In a remote environment,
mhm.
the proctor is going to be in control of your camera and your microphone. And they'll ask questions like, can you put your glasses just up there? I know it's silly, but please can you do that so we can check a box and those kind of things. They know it's necessary for you to take the exam and they don't want to hinder you in that way. They just want to make sure that you are getting, the same benefit and you don't have any extra advantage over other people from technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a fair way to kind of evaluate if you are meeting test requirements. Okay, so I hope this answers your questions, guys. So what we're going to do is now that you understand these 3 phases in depth, we're just going to test you a bit and see if you remember what we just said. Okay, and it's like every test, there's also a reward at the end, which I will reveal towards the end of the session. But you do make sure that you're answering all the 3 questions because they're going to just come as a quiz. Okay. Um, Kiran, we're not covering CAPM here, but we'll talk about how this is different towards the end. Remember to drop your questions on the Q&A box if you have that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm launching a 3-question quiz that asks you just 3 questions that I'm also going to show on the slides, right? And at the count of 3, just so that the entire audience, also on LinkedIn and YouTube, also aligned to the timing. At the count of 3, make sure you've put in your responses. Okay. And so that I can proceed to the next one. Okay, I'm just going to launch it right here. And yeah, so I'm going to keep the question live for about 10 to 15 seconds. And then I'm going to count down from 3. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So here you go. 3, 2, and 1. Put in your answers to the first question on the live chat. Okay. Okay. I'm looking at the chat window for YouTube from the YouTube audience as well. Make sure you guys are participating. Okay. Time for the second question, which is this: at what point should you regularly log mistakes and weak areas based on the practice questions that you have? Okay. And again, another 10 to 15 seconds for you to read this. Yeah. So here you go. Count down from 3, 2, and 1. Okay, that's the second question here. Now let's look at question number 3. It's very, very straightforward, not very complicated. What phase? Okay, surprisingly, a lot of you, I'm not going to reveal the answers yet. Anyway, which phase do you understand the basics of project management and understand the exam format? Okay. Is it phase 1, 2, or 3? I'm not very happy with the results for the third question, guys. Rethink your answers. I think that's your cue. Okay. Make sure everyone answers them. I can see only a half of you have actually participated. Remember what I said towards the end, and it's true, you are going to receive a reward, not directly, but yeah, we'll let you know. So make sure you actually answer all the 3 questions. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's the end of the quiz as well. So should we share these results, Tim? What do you think? We should.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, when you start taking full length mock and track your score improvements, that's when you're confident that you're actually going to score 85% and above. So it's phase 3, it's correct. And at what point should you regularly see where you're going wrong? So obviously it's phase 2 where you're actually practicing. And this is after phase 1, where you build your foundations. A lot of you got this wrong. I'm going to show these correct answers to everyone. I hope the audience is able to see this. Yeah, are you guys able to see the answers on the poll? Yeah. If you guys have, yeah. See as in the correct answers on the poll window. Yeah, and now you know why you made the mistake with question number 3. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't know that, Sarang. Which is okay. But then, yeah, as per I made mistake about, I didn't change the poll question. Okay, you guys, very good. Very well done.
Yeah.
So now you actually have the plan ready. You know what you should do, what your 3-phase plan is. And this is exactly what Tim will be talking about if you become part of his cohort. Okay, so what happens when you have the plan is you know what to do, you know how to get started. Yes, so all of you who said you're not sure, you don't know yet, you have no plan, I hope you now know what to do. A quick yes maybe will help people who said not sure earlier. Yeah. Yeah. Partially. Still feel okay. Okay. Great. But what happens is it's important that you're consistent, you're devoting time, and you're also progressing. You're learning from a mentor. You're also making sure that you're keeping up with the pace. You are progressing somewhere, and you're eventually leading. And this is leading up to taking the test, right? So, which is where our PMP certification training helps. Why? Because a lot of learners have trusted us with their PMP preparation, have gone on to actually get certified and eventually transition into becoming a full-time project manager. Okay. So Tim, someone has this question about transitioning to a project manager. I think it's the right time to take that. So what if someone does not have project management experience yet? Should they consider getting coached for the PMP test and then eventually write the PMP exam? What do you suggest?
So we're learning how to teach and build better training content every day. The content that you see in this class is not the content I used in the 1990s and early 2000s.
Mm.
So you want to take the exam sooner rather than later. Okay, just for the purpose of moving and establishing yourself on the path for that activity, that discipline that's going to be required. Now, the other question is, what if I don't have project management experience?
Yeah.
And I would admit that if you've ever been in and around project management, and on a project, you've had that because it's not necessarily having the job title project manager, and it's not even necessarily being the assigned project manager. How many of you have been told, we have a project here, can you schedule and facilitate the meetings and take notes and make sure everybody's doing that? Well, you're doing the work of a project manager. Okay. Or they're saying, keep an eye on the schedule. And if there's any problems, raise an alarm, right? That's part of doing the work of a project manager, even though you don't have the title. So, in a way, in our work environments, we're in and around projects. We have to admit that. And by participating in that, we actually doing the job. Now, the effort comes into how do you document this? And you're
Mm.
going to have to spend about 2 weeks thinking through the last 3 to 8 years and saying, well, this was a project, and this is what I did here. And this was a project, and this is what I did here. And don't just think about, you're the person in charge who says, do this, do that. No, think about the other jobs, the facilitation, the conflict management, the risk management. Even if you were a team member, there are project management activities and duties you perform throughout the life of the project.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So what about someone applying for the PMP exam with project management experience? Would they need their sign off from, say, their employer or, their manager? Some kind of, a vouching sort of a thing where, okay, this person has background. Does that help or is that required?
So here is the whole story behind references, okay? You're going to be documenting your projects and your experience in it, and you're going to be putting down a reference. Okay. Now, remember, Project Management Institute has been doing this application process since the late 1980s. Okay.
Mhm.
So they know how to do this. And if at any time you have problems, you can contact us and you can also talk to Project Management Institute as well. Okay. As you progress and as you fill out your application, you're going to put a reference down. Now, these references have to be very specific. Number one, they have to be somebody in higher authority. Number two, they have to understand the work you did. Okay. Now, Project Management Institute is not going to contact them. They will never contact them. What's going to happen is you may be audited. Okay. Now, an
Okay.
audit is nothing to do with the quality of your application. Very, very, very rarely will they audit someone because of the application quality. What they will do is pull to 3 to 5% of all applications and say, congratulations, you're going to be audited, right? And that's when they say, can you give us your university transcript? We're not picking on you. It's just you came up in a random draw. And with a reference, what they're going to do is say, we're not picking on you. It's just that we need you and your reference to sign off on this so we have it and we can demonstrate to the rest of the world that you really have this experience. That's the whole job. Now, if you don't have a reference,
Mhm.
that's when you contact PMI, okay? Because they have ways of working with you, especially when your company was disbanded 3 years ago and you don't stay in contact, or you've been through 2 or 3 managers in the last 3 or 4 years. And PMI works through all of these issues daily on on so many applications. So they know how to do this in an ethical way that's also meaningful to you and represents the true work you did.
Right. Got it. Okay, great. I hope that answers these questions. We'll probably just take one last question about someone who is in the automotive domain. And okay, I know the answer is no, but maybe you could answer this better. After completion of the PMP certification, someone gets certified, will that help them change their field into, say, tech or AI/ML with zero domain background and still manage projects in a different domain altogether? Um, you know, will that help, or is that a reasonable transition to make?
So
Yeah.
think about being on a freeway and your career is a freeway.
Mhm.
You don't stop and make a right turn. What do? You get off on a ramp and you get on another ramp. So when you're changing career paths, you have to think about how do I find the right off ramp and the right on ramp. And the key is find the correct on ramp before you start taking the off ramp. So if you're already studying the industry you're in, please study more. If you find experts who are publicly speaking about the industry, follow them, find out what they're talking about. Use them even though they may not be, somebody physically present, they can still be a mentor giving you an idea of what it's like to be an executive or a middle manager or a vice president and
Yeah.
find out how they made that change too. A lot of people are out there, and so many business experts are influencers out in the public, whether it's on YouTube or it's all of the media adventures. Look at them and inspect them as if this is a project in itself,
Mhm.
and that's the key.
Got it. Okay, great. Um, Should you read books from about PM? No, I think the project management body of knowledge is good enough. And also, of course, our course, which will help you with live instructor-led sessions. You're learning from people such as Tim, you're learning from people who actually practice project management, and also you learn from people who have designed this content, and the course also has content that is aligned with the latest PMP exam format. Okay. And what you get out of this is the 35 contact hours, which are required by PMI for you to apply for the PMP exam again. And of course, a lot of mock tests, 20 plus practice questions plus, per topic, which is actually going to help you in that phase 2 of your preparation, which is about knowing what your mistakes are. We saw in quiz question number 2, right? That, at this point, you're understanding what your mistakes are, what your weak points are with the practice questions that we offer. Okay, so that's how the course is going to help. And what we're going to do is just to break down how the class curriculum is split. So Tim, could you take them through how the curriculum was built, what's the principle behind, and also how this is going to help them?
Yes, so the current curriculum says we're going to teach this in a way that was different from the decades past, okay? You start off with here's how the course works, here's how we're going to participate. Just like a project, when you pull the team together for the first time, it's a team charter, right? Oh, and you're actually looking at that. And the very first set of material you work on is that 10% content that talks about the business. Okay. And then on top of that, you look at the next set of material, the next lesson that talks about what is initiating about? How do you gain project approval? And we're looking at taking these business knowledge and business documents, putting together and justifying this project. At that time, once a project is approved, money set aside, people set aside, and all of a sudden you're in lesson 3, which is planning. And that's where you're establishing what you're going to be doing. The next two parts are monitoring, controlling, and executing. And executing is a little confusing because what do I do as a project manager while the team's doing that? Well, you're making sure the team they have has what they need, and you make sure the stakeholders have what they need, and you're tracking progress and status on the project details while you're supporting, influencing, and motivating the team. So executing is almost more busy than the rest, where monitoring and controlling is taking the data. And again, we're doing this sequentially through the class. And finally, there's the transition of the deliverable at the end of class, and it's the wrap up. So again, as we progress through the class, we're looking at the class itself as a project.
Got it. All right. Yeah, so we also have PMP application assistance, which is also a huge part in their PMP preparation. A lot of learners don't know how they can record, document their project management experience, or whether or not they do have that eligibility. So what if someone does not have that eligibility? Can someone actually gain and then, eventually take the test later on after a few years? Is that also a good idea?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. If you have a 4-year degree in the United States or a 3-year degree in India, we call it a bachelor's or an undergraduate degree.
Yeah.
You need, what is it, 36 months?
Okay.
I think
Experience.
of experience. It's basically you want to see almost 3 years of experience, and that experience can have spread across that. So what you can do is as projects occur in your work environment, say, I want to gain a little experience. Can I actually be pulled in to do some of the data analysis or be pulled in to help facilitate meetings or something like that? And a project manager who's probably terribly overworked, who, if they are a good project manager, we're going to say, yes, and here's how you can help me. And there's ways to do that. Now, again, if it's supported by your manager, supervisor, director, it's even better because then this is time served towards your paycheck as well as developing this. And there have been times I've seen where some of my students worked with their directors and actually carved out a small project to practice these things and demonstrate that they were starting to understand the details, the little details that go on that management of the work.
Right. Okay. Great. Great. I think that also answers a lot of questions about, okay, what if I don't have the experience? Akshay, I don't think it works that way, but of course you have the certificate that will tell that you have the contact hours, which is kind of, useful for you to apply your exam. So only when you get PMP certified, that's when you call yourself PMP certified. Okay, I don't think PMP trained is a tag that you want to use. Eventually, you need to use that to get PMP certified. Okay, and of course, yeah.
Can I speak to this real quickly?
Of course.
What's nice is when you finish this training, you have a Simplilearn certificate that says you went through 35 hours of formal PMP preparation.
Yeah.
And so you can say, I have gotten this far in my acquiring the PMP certification. So you have Simplilearn's validation that you went through this and met all the requirements for that PMP preparation training, which means at that point, any person considering you can say, hey, if I can just give you experience on projects, if you can commit to passing the test, let's get you in. I've seen a lot of my mentees take that strategy as well.
Right. Again, Anshuman, I hope that, not Anshuman, Akshay, hope that answers your question. So along with all of this that you get, you also get a free course on how you can leverage Gen AI in project and quality management. So Tim, if you can also highlight how things are changing in, in say real world projects, how is Gen AI going to be useful, or are people actually open to leveraging it? What is your take on this, and how much of Gen AI expertise should one have?
So, first of all, artificial intelligence has upset the training and education community.
Hmm.
It's never going to be the same.
Hmm.
One of the things that we look at um, in training about artificial intelligence in our craft is critical thinking is an incredible skill, and it is a necessary skill for a manager to both have and provide others. Artificial intelligence takes over some of those pieces, which is collecting the data and organizing it into information. Now, the problem is there's another part of critical thinking called validation.
Yeah.
And artificial intelligence doesn't have that yet.
Hmm.
What we need to do as project managers is focus on, is artificial intelligence telling us what's real, or is it bouncing off of itself in an echo chamber? And secondly, once we have that good information, how do we actually use that to make good decisions? Those last two factors, basically the validation and using it to make decisions, artificial intelligence is going to take a while to figure that part out. And
Hmm.
so, if you want to focus in that area for the next 20 years, you can have a good career, not just working with projects, but using artificial intelligence to gather and organize. Now,
Hmm.
again, there are wonderful classes out there. You can find it out in many areas on artificial intelligence, but there are ways to use these GPTs or whatever you want to call them, the bots, to help you organize data into schedules, organize data and prioritize it and that kind of thing. And these are the things that we as project managers and we as educators are just starting to add into our course curricula. You're not going to see AI directly
Yeah.
in the PMP prep training, but
Hmm.
I guarantee you, as it matures, we're going to see how do we further and further integrate it.
Integrate it and also learn to use it as a co-pilot or a team member, and kind of improve what we do, in our project.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Very repetitive question. Student is kind of, wanting to understand this from you. So let's say if the PMI website actually says there are 3 attempts that you can take, but what if someone fails one exam? Does one need to pay for the second attempt? Are you aware of this?
Yes, I am. I'm very, very aware. So when your application passes,
Mhm.
you have a year in which to schedule and plan your exam.
Mhm.
Now, that's after you make a payment to PMI, okay?
Mhm.
And within that year, that's where your preparation occurs. And they give you 3 times within that year
I see.
to pass the exam. Now, if you don't pass it 3 times, PMI will say, okay, take some time off, reapply here in a while. Now, the second and third attempts, if you do have to take it, and very few people in my working knowledge have had to take it more than 1 or 2 times, and very few people twice.
Mhm.
Um, they have a much reduced cost to them, but you still have to pay for the second or third time. But
I see.
honestly, I talked to maybe about I talk to about 2 or 3 people a month who have not passed their exam, and the problems they have and the issues they have and how they can actually work over and around those issues in order to
Mhm.
pass it. So this is a very common common situation. And if you don't pass it the first time, that's all right,
Mm,
because you already now have learned so much and you
mm,
can use that. Don't put that to waste, but use that. You don't have to take more formal training. All
yeah.
you have to do is look at reapplication, getting more experience, and then see if it's time for you to put in the discipline and the focus to be able to
Absolutely.
prepare for the exam.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about preparing for another attempt. Anshuman, I hope that answers your question. And quickly back to what we cover in the course. Like I said, we cover all the PMP exam domains, and this is based on the latest PMBOK guide. We also make sure you learn from case studies. You're not just learning theory, you're not memorizing it, you're actually understanding how this works in a real-time scenario, and we make sure you are exam ready with all the practice questions and the mock tests that we have. And of course, the certificate that we offer is recognized, is also something that you can use to apply for your PMP exam. Okay, so this is how the program is different from what we offer. And of course, a very important part of the program is what we're really proud of is our program advisor and also our program trainers. So you can also, you can also find this detail on our course page, but actually Tim is one of the program advisors for this particular course. So maybe Tim, again, I'll let you kind of highlight how you went about creating this course, and maybe just a quick recap on the whole journey.
So again, how this course came to be was when I took my PMP prep,
Mhm.
I was given 6 weeks in advance 3 boxes of 3-ring binders, and they said, study this. And it was 4 days of rigorous test, review, test, review, test, review. And they said at the end of that Friday, immediately go there. Now, that didn't work for most people. And so as they transitioned over the late 1990s into the early to mid 2000s, when I was becoming very active in the trainer community, I was starting to develop training content. And the training content still said, here's how we teach. And the problem is, it doesn't work for most people. Most companies are saying you need to know Agile. Most people are saying we have problems that you can't put traditional project management around. Construction is great because a lot of construction, you have to have traditional project management, but there are little gaps that you're doing that are so unique, you can't approach it as pulling up work history and making a plan anymore. And so this was back in 2019 that PMI started talking about this publicly. And they said, we have to start teaching our trainers. And that's when the whole transition happened between 2019 and 21. And
Mm,
all of a sudden, this became a more realistic training environment. And I've been noticing over the last few years beyond that, this is becoming the standard. It's becoming the approved way to teach. And we're able to start working on things like talking through use cases, stories, and through examples of real projects instead of just working on the same old mechanisms that we had to teach people. We're a totally different generation now. And you need to acquire knowledge in a totally different way. And this makes so much more sense once you see it in action.
mm. Got it. Great. Thanks, Tim, for taking us through that journey. We've got a few questions here, about the learning content as well. Since you are an advisor to PMI and also this program here, could you also let us know till what year is the current content valid? And also, when is the new PMP version or the PMBOK version going to be released?
So here is the goods, okay? The exam doesn't change when the body of knowledge changes. Okay, the
Okay.
body of knowledge is the context, it's the background and surrounding information. And in fact, there's 3 really good books that are references that you can use.
I see.
And if you're a paid PMI member, you get it for free, right? It's the body of knowledge, traditional project management, practice guide, which is the process group practice guide. That's all of the processes and tools, techniques they pulled out of the PMBOK, okay? And then they have the Agile practice guide. And very few people know that PMI acquired the Agile Alliance earlier this year. They are totally, they're totally rank and file with the Agile expertise that we've been building since 2001. Now, this all rolls up into the big picture that says, you know, this is the best way to do things that we know today.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. All right.
I want to add one last thing.
Sure.
If that's not what the exam is about, what is the exam about? It's about the exam content outline. It's the ECO, that document there. If you can find it, it's on the application page of the Project Management Institute website for the PMP. That document says, here's the tasks that are recognized as project management tasks. That's what they're going to test you on. That right there. And that's what the course is built around. It goes into rigorous detail on each one of those tasks.
Okay, I think that answers a few questions about ECO and the learning content as well. Let's help you understand how you're going to gain all of this, right? So what happens when you enroll into an upcoming cohort is that you get access to a learning management system where you can access the live classes, the self-learning content, and let's say you miss a class, you also get access to the recording, and so that you can maintain your learning progress. And of course, along with that, you get access to a lot of guidance sessions from mentors such as Tim and also the other trainers there. And of course, a dedicated cohort manager who's there with you throughout your learning journey to help you understand any of your questions, whether it's related to accessing the course content, whether it's related to, just a small question that you have about whatever you learned, could be anything. You will be able to reach out to a dedicated cohort manager wherever you are in the world. Okay, so this is how we make sure that this is seamless. Your learning is kind of structured and delivered to you in a way that you can consume best, and of course come back, revisit later whenever you want to. Okay, and some success stories, we're trying to bring in some of our learners, not exactly the same learners that you see on the slide, but we've got some amazing stories of people who've actually been a part of the Indian Army and took a break and went on to become project manager for defense-related projects, which is actually very interesting. And we came about this, came to know about this story very recently. So we might try and get some of these learners maybe in the next webinar as well. But, if you can see Shubhrato or Francine, who kind of used and make sure that they leveraged PMP certification and went on to take on new job roles and also grow in their career, right? So you can see Shubhrato was actually Tim's student. See that in the review there. Right, so you can actually find these reviews on the course page, and I'm going to share this link with you very, very shortly. This is how the certificate looks like. So you get this from, from PMI. It actually looks like it's given by PMI, and you earn a digital badge from Simplilearn. And of course, certificate opens doors to firstly applying for the PMP test and eventually taking on roles in the project management area. So how do you become a part of this course? What you do is, I'm about to launch a very quick poll where you express your interest in the program. And after you've said a yes, you will be called by a learning advisor, and you could get all your information about your enrollment from this person. And if you're interested, you can start as early as this weekend. Okay, so that's how the enrollment steps are. Okay, remember I said there's a reward for the tests that you took. I'm going to talk about that right now. Just give me a couple of minutes. So like I said, the next cohort begins as early as this weekend, which is 19th of July, Saturday, 10 a.m. Central Time. Of course, there are cohorts for suiting Indian timings as well. So if you're interested in knowing these timings, you can just scan the QR codes, one of these, you will be directed to the course page. Okay. The course fee is 18,499 rupees, Indian rupees, or about $1,000, 1,000 US dollars. Okay. But what we have is just a limited time offer. And again, remember, this is a maximum discount. So this is where the reward part comes in. Now, this is only if you select a yes in the poll that I am about to launch. And before I launch, I want to make this clear so that you know what you're getting into. Remember, you answered those 3 questions. And this is only if you answered 3 questions. I'm going to pass these information, your answers or your email IDs, to the learning advisors as well. Okay. So if you've answered the 3 questions and if you've got all 3 correct, you will be eligible for a straight discount of up to 30%, 31%, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 31% from whatever was there here, right? So you will be eligible for that discount. And when you contact a learning advisor, you can actually say, hey, I attended this session and I also answered a few questions. So, and I got all of them right. I'm eligible for this discount. You can actually say that to a learning advisor and get your discount. But remember, this is only for the webinar attendees and for very limited seats. Okay. So now that you're clear about why we did the quiz and the whole reward system, now you're clear there. I'm just going to launch this question that takes your interest. So in case you are interested in enrolling and becoming a part of our next cohort, make sure you select a yes, and you will be contacted by a learning advisor. So if you live in the US, you should be contacted in the next few hours. But let's say you live in India or anywhere else in the world, you can expect a call tomorrow morning. Okay? Yeah, so make sure you select a yes there and let us know your responses. Okay. And if you're willing to explore the course more before you make a decision, let me just share the link to the course here. On the chat. Cool. That's great. I forgot your name again. Great that you finished your training. In case you finished your training, the next step should be to probably start preparing, getting up, gearing up for your exam. Okay, Faisal, I am not sure about this. It is lifetime. As far as I know, the self-learning content is accessible lifetime. Why the fee is different between US and the rest of the world? Obviously, the fee will be different, Siddharth. And I'm not sure of why the fees, it is going to be different. So it is $599 US dollars, and with the discount, the 30% discount, and about 11,000 Indian rupees. Okay. Again, I am not sure about the tax part of it. I think it is excluding tax, but I'm really not sure about these questions. Maybe I can check this right away. Yeah, if you're still interested, you can select a yes. And
Ah,
yeah. I'm not sure. Again, the course, the website does not mention this. So again, I don't think I should know the right person to answer this. Yeah. Siddharth,
yeah, and
sorry.
go ahead, please.
Siddharth, I don't think it works that way unless you are living in India and you're paying in Indian rupees. And of course, the cohort timings, I don't think that would make sense. So, yeah. Someone answered that for us. It is excluding.
Yeah, Project Management Institute, much like any other multinational business, although it's nonprofit, is still a nonprofit business, and they have negotiations with the local economics where they can negotiate in different currencies. So when you are in a certain place, you can actually take advantage of, the pricing. But that's something for you to explore. And
Mhm.
it's the nature of how businesses work internationally more than, what's the real cost here and how can I manage that cost?
Yeah. Jaideep, it only includes the training cost. And for people who say, okay, you can't afford 10,000 rupees, you definitely have other resources to help you get started. One resource that can help you get started is the Simply Mentor GPT. Okay. So what happens is we've just launched this GPT very, very recently. You can actually, if you can see the video here, you can actually enter a prompt and say, okay, this is my concern. I want to prepare for the PMP test, but what you would actually need is eventually get that 35 contact hours. But let's say you're not, you can't afford that right now. You would want to get started with some free resources. Simply Mentor GPT can compile them for you and, given resources that can help you get started. Okay. Yeah. So Kyo Young, who says, okay, please help me with this. Maybe you could check this with a learning advisor. As far as I know, this is excluding tax. Okay. Fees of no fees that are that I've mentioned for India learners are only for people living in India. Same goes for US learners. Let's say you live anywhere else in the world. Make sure you just click on the course page. Okay, the link that I've shared. Open that, select whatever region you are in, and then you should be able to see the fee. And what you see here on the video is how Simply Mentor GPT can compile free resources for you. Okay, so in case you are interested in exploring Simply Mentor GPT as a start, you can actually do that. Okay, I'm going to share this link to GPT here on the chat. And let me just restrict the chat box for a while. Yeah, there you go. Certification, no, it does not last for a lifetime.
Yeah, and again, the certification is good for 3 years. Even I have to renew my certification every 3 years. But once you receive your PMP, they give you a huge PDF and they say, here are all the things that count towards recertification credit. And a lot of it is further training. Sometimes it's writing articles, creating webinars, speaking at at the office about project management, as well as managing projects throughout it. It's meant to be professional development, and they expect 20 hours per year across 3 years or 60 hours of professional development in those 3 years. And like I said, when you get your PMP, PMI shares all this with you and says, this is how you do it. Here's how you track it and log it, and here's how we validate that. And if you actually acquire these 60 hours of professional development before your PMP expires, you don't have to take the exam ever again.
Yeah. So for people who I'm responding on the chat, it's getting hard for me to track all your messages. So maybe just compile that question and put it all on the Q&A box. It's just easier to track. I don't have to do this back and forth with you. Someone had another question. Yeah, Shrikant wants to know, Tim, if they join the PMP course, when is the next live training session with you? When do they get to learn from you? Let me check.
I have no idea. I'm serious. I'm serious. I have a forecast and
Uh-huh.
it's usually set up about 1 to 2 months in advance. At
Right.
the beginning of the year, I provide my availability and they place me where
Mhm.
my impact can be the greatest. But if you line up, you have access through Simplilearn with the learning success managers who are part
Mhm.
of support, who are also part of the live classes. So even the technical issues in your live classes will get questions and answers right there.
Right. Got it. So, Shrikant, to answer your questions, if you just click on enroll now, you will be directed to this page, which shows the trainer that's going to take the upcoming cohort. It is usually planned slightly in advance, but I mean, again, right person to answer this question would be a learning advisor, because they have, all the list of the upcoming cohorts, the upcoming trainers, all of that for the certification program. So you should probably reach out to them to understand this. Yeah. Yes. Time is my investment, not the fee. Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. So
spoken
any
well.
more people who are interested in the course, you could select a quick yes. And you heard what Tim said. It's usually planned. This is not there on the course page yet. Okay, Ashley has a question. Is it important to renew the certificate? All the other courses also. Again, I didn't get the second part of the question, but is it important to renew it, or how significant is it? Maybe you could highlight that.
So this is an interesting question. What we're asking is, do I need to take more training? And that's actually what the professional development is for recertification. It's finding the sources of material you need to actually strengthen your various skills that you need to get better on. And so you don't have to take formal contact hours, although this is a beautiful thing. Any project management formal class that's in alignment with Project Management Institute standard, is going to count towards that. But it's not just your training, but you have to remember, once you're a PMP, PMI rewards you for helping others and training others as well.
Got it. Okay. Someone says, okay, they're interested only when Sir takes the PMP session. Hopefully, very, very soon. I usually see Tim's name in the upcoming cohorts all the time. Somehow it's not there here, this time. But be rest assured, Tim will be back in these live sessions. So maybe if you've selected a yes and you want to see Tim in the upcoming cohort, you can actually let them know that, hey, you know what, get Tim back on these cohorts. And that's when we'd be interested to join. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a
And
request that they
yeah,
can't
and
deny.
yeah, and honestly, I do work as much as I can. I tell all my students,
Mhm.
I am focused on my active classes first. That's my number one priority. And
Amazing.
then I start looking at the influence I can have beyond that. This, of course, is important to me because you are the future students for Simplilearn. And I want to give you a sense of the engagement as well as the knowledge to acquire as you go through these courses. And if you are an ATP certified trainer that
Mhm.
teaches this PMP preparation with PMI training, it's not just Simplilearn that says this is a good trainer. It's also Project Management Institute says this is a good trainer too.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And that's what Tim has. I mean, we do have that, the ATP certification as well. Amira and everyone else who's requesting for Tim. So my request to you guys is actually kind of, push the learning advisor, tell them that, hey, we want Tim. We definitely want Tim in the session. And
Oh
that's
no.
how we'll be enrolling. But like I said, I do see Tim's name a lot of times when I go through the list. This time around, it's not there. It's just that, maybe that he would be allotted some cohorts in the upcoming month, whenever that is. Okay, so be rest assured he's still a trainer with us. Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh
Yes.
yes.
Yes. All right. So with that, let us know how much confidence you gained through this session. How ready are you to get started for your PMP preparation? Just a quick rating, self-rating would help. How confident are you right now? I know all of you feel that, okay, with Tim, you're probably at a 10, but let's just rate ourselves with reference, keeping this webinar as reference. Now maybe just a quick self rating on how confident you are. And I've actually ended the poll. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to end the poll right here. And 35 of you have actually said you would want to become a part of the program. Okay. Just on the chat, Geet, that would do. Okay. On the chat, just rate yourselves, not the poll. Yeah. 1 to 10 is the rating. And the poll that I was talking about is the interest for the course. Sorry if I mixed the two. Yeah. Great. Great. Good to know. Some of you 8, some of you 10, some of you 9. Okay, great. Amazing. I hope you reach that perfect 10 very, very soon and also become a part of our upcoming cohort. You have the link to the course page. You also have the link to the Simply Mentor GPT. So you can actually explore this. I'm sharing this link once again with you guys. Okay. So please make sure you save these links and explore them. And if you can actually ask Simply Mentor GPT to compile some free resource, oh yeah, look at this. What's a 4-week plan to prepare for the PMP exam is also something that you can ask. Okay. Here you go. Right? So that's the Simply Mentor GPT for you. Right. So it was great bringing this session, and let's see if we have any last minute questions before we end and before we collect names for our webinar certificate. So Tim Abdul has a question. He agrees that GenAI is a great assistant for learning and automating routine tasks. But my deeper question is this: with GPT getting increasingly capable, from risk logs to stakeholder communication, even project strategy drafts, do you think it's only a matter of time before it replaces a project manager or a PMO entirely? And so he's kind of worried, and he wants to pause and reflect. He wants to kind of think whether this is the right path for him.
So artificial intelligence is really good at general collection of data and organizing it in patterns that we can recognize, right? The problem is the nuances of human behavior still confound artificial intelligence. Okay? This is the problem. I'm part of a group of deep experts in both the direction of education as well as the direction of our society as a whole. And a few of our people are pulled into these corporations for future visions of GPT. And they're training these bots potentially to look at this human behavior and how people make decisions and how body language influences this. So what we're thinking, what we're saying is that, yeah, we're working on that and AI is working on that, but it's going to be a long time. It's probably going to be the people who follow you in 40 to 60 years. There could be a jump. I could be totally wrong in this. But knowing where we are with the current technology and the current application of software, human behavior still confounds technology.
Yeah. So I think Abdul had that question. Abdul, see, this is exactly, okay, sorry if my screen is acting up. This is exactly what Tim mentioned. So he says that you can't replace human behavior, critical thinking and all of that. So AI can never take over that. Okay. Tim, we also have audience from LinkedIn saying hello to you. Someone who was a student says, hi, Tim.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hi.
Thanks for your advice. I attended your class in February and she's planning to take the exam in November, which is amazing. All the best to you.
Yeah, and I apologize for not being on LinkedIn for the last 5 or 6 months. And I promise in the next few months you're going to see me raising my head again socially.
All right. With that, I think we come to the end of this very interesting, useful session. I hope you could take away a lot of insights, learnings on how you should go about preparing for the PMP exam, whether you should actually transition, what you should do if you eventually transition, all of that. What I'm going to do now is launch another poll. It's going to be the last one. And you're going to submit your full name, okay? And when you submit your full name, in the next 24 hours, you'll be receiving a certificate that looks like this. Yeah, so just make sure you only add your name and nothing else, because then otherwise it just gets filtered out automatically. Okay, so just your full name would do. And of course, we're going to pass on your information about all the quiz results. We're going to pass that on to the learning advisors so that they know, how much of a discount percentage you are eligible for. Okay, that's separate. But what you're going to receive as an email is this certificate along with the recording to the session here. And of course, the link to the Simply Mentor GPT as well. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to keep the poll live for another 2 to 3 minutes while I check for any more last minute questions. Where should we enter the name on the poll that I've launched? On the poll. You can see a poll on Zoom. You will be able to enter your name there. Where should we enter your name? Enter your name. Yeah. All of that on the poll, guys. Not here, not on the Q&A box. 60-day study plan. So you will receive the recording and the slide deck, which will kind of function as a 60-day study plan. And the reason I didn't share the PDF is that you have the link to the Simply Mentor GPT, which will, eventually generate or give you a compilation of all the free resources that Simplilearn already has. Okay. So in case you're looking for that study plan, you should definitely explore Simply Mentor GPT. But if you submit your name here, you will receive a recording, the recording of this session, your certificate, and also the slide deck. Okay. Yeah. Please enter your name only on the poll. I don't think you guys are getting it. Just enter your name on the poll. Yeah, just that. Not on the chat, not on the Q&A box, on the poll. Just what you did in the previous polls. That's all. Okay. Few more learners were saying, okay, they want to know any dates when we'll have Sir's PMP lecture. Okay, Dubey, you know what? Okay, MKS Dubey is his name. You know what? I'm going to actually pass this information to the team that handles these cohorts and say that, we did this webinar and we want him back. I will do that after today's session.
And honestly, I'm usually teaching 2 to 3 courses a month, but I'm one of very many talented and very experienced trainers on our
Yes,
team here.
Absolutely. So great. With this, we've come to the end of the session. It was great bringing this session to you guys. Some very, very, very interesting questions. A lot of you showed some real enthusiasm to learn and understand, how do you overcome those obstacles? What should your plan look like? What should you do after your PMP, which is amazing. Great enthusiasm. And that's the enthusiasm that you should carry forward when you actually become a part of our cohorts as well. Any closing thoughts, Tim, before we end the session here?
Yes, real quickly, uncertainty is the state of our current environment, and many of us are going through great upheavals. What I suggest to all of you is just how you prepare for the PMP exam. You can use these same methods to say, what do I want? What are the objectives I want? Put a plan together. Make sure that you have a healthy work-life balance regardless of your current state. And just start a methodical process of collecting data and analyzing it in every 3 or 4 months. Am I getting closer or am I getting further away? Use the things that we talk in our classes, use the things that we talk today to prepare for the exam,
Yeah.
and it's going to work.
Yes.
We notice that there's no more nets that catch us from falling like we used to see as much, especially in the United States. And
Mm.
so we, by gathering together and talking, as well as using these skills we talked, are probably going to be not just the best thing you can do today, but the best thing you can do ever.
Great. Thanks so much, Tim, for that closing advice. We look forward to seeing you in another session very, very soon, another webinar. And also a request, from all our learners, I guess, is to get Tim back to take these cohorts. Yes, we're going to do that. I will try and, put this request forward to the team and say, hey, you know what, learners actually want Tim, and that's when they eventually enroll. So, okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Thank you again, Tim, for spending your time interacting with the learners here. It's great listening to you and your advice. I'll
Thanks
see you
again.
again. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great day.